So the headline, Harry Littman, was that the United States Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, denied Donald Trump's emergency request to stay or stop or block his criminal sentencing that took place on Friday. Trump was sentenced on Friday. It was a no prison sentence, no condition sentence, but nonetheless, he was sentenced. What's more fascinating, Harry, is that it was a 5-4 decision. And there's a broader question that we should discuss. Are we seeing a realignment, if you will, of the court of Justice John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett joining with the liberal judges, the judges appointed by, or the justices appointed by Democratic administrations, and forming a new block on certain types of cases to potentially step in and block some of the excesses and constitutional violations of Donald Trump as we head into the next Trump term, after the Supreme Court, the Roberts Court, gave Donald Trump absolute immunity, ruled in favor of Donald Trump on the 14th Amendment, Section 3 case, found in favor of Donald Trump on a lot of other cases and procedural maneuvers along the way. Is what we're seeing here, beyond just 5-4 denial, a broader message to Trump. We gave you a lot. Don't test us. We are still a co-equal branch of government, and this is the first time that we're going to assert it in a way that may be surprising to you, Donald, but this may become the norm. Now, a lot of MAGA influencers, Harry, are pissed at Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, this guy, Cat Turd, who's a big influencer for MAGA, it's embarrassing that I said that, but I could show you 50 other MAGA influencers. They all sound like this right now. Traitor, Mitch McConnell, globalist plant, fraud, snake, backstabber, phony, sellout, leftist, puppet, weasel, fake, plastic loser. I mean, very misogynistic and disgusting stuff, but what else would you expect? But look, Amy Coney Barrett was appointed by Donald Trump. Remember when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, they rushed Amy Coney Barrett in like a record time in. One of Amy Coney Barrett's big issues was overturning Roe v. Wade. She was a professor at Notre Dame. It was clear that you read everything. That was obvious where she was going to go. But it's interesting, Harry, because on other issues, other than, that really bad ruling in Dobbs, she actually is a little bit more ambiguous than some of the other right-wing justices on where she stands on these issues. Harry, you clerked with Justice Kagan. You worked with these people. You were a clerk twice at the Supreme Court, so you know the inner workings. What do you think's going on here, Harry?
Wow. So there's quite a lot in that question, Ben. Let me get to Barrett in a moment, because on the 5-4, glass half full, half empty, had they pulled the trigger on this and let him wipe the slate clean of all criminal conduct, it would have been a really sort of historic outrage. Because I'm here to tell you, we don't have to go into it, but the claims were very weak. So to me, that they got 4 votes for this crap, including Kavanaugh joining them, actually sent shivers down my spine for what we can expect in Trump 2.0. And you mentioned Barrett, who everyone is mad at. Of course, the other is the Chief Justice, John Roberts, who went with them. But I think we've discerned a pattern over the years that where it's a really big thing for the Republican Party, or as he views it, the nation, he will not try to play statesman. Here he did, but as that second part of the short Supreme Court opinion said, the stakes were 0 because he was going to get an unconditional discharge. By the way, I'll remind you, you forced me to it when we talked last week, and I thought it was a close call, but you forced me to it, and I predicted they wouldn't. I got it right that they didn't intervene and the sentencing went forward. But it was a really close call, and I am dismayed that Kavanaugh was in with them for what it was a really crappy set of claims. More generally, however, I think you're right about Barrett, and the hope against hope would be that Justice Kagan, who really does have really adroit political skills, I mean that in a good way, is kind of bringing her around. This morning, there was the big argument in the TikTok case. If you'll give me a quick detour here. And there, I think it's going to be overwhelmingly for the government, but the questions of both are incidental. So therefore, you wouldn't have strict scrutiny. That would be the whole ball game. And Barrett picked up on exactly that. So the thing to keep one's eye on is whether, hope against hope, there's the emergence of a sort of three: Alito, Gorsuch, Thomas; two, Kavanaugh and Roberts, and that they came apart here is very unusual. Almost always they're in lockstep. They're the two justices who are most often in the majority, like 95% of the time. But then could we possibly have a Barrett-Kagan mini alliance, and then Sotomayor and Jackson? I want to say one more quick thing about this, the 5-4, which is it is a total outrage that Justice Alito took a call from Donald Trump this week as it was pending, completely unnecessary, a supposedly vouching for a former clerk of his, but you can do that in writing. You can do it next week. And it was so brazen that it gave me the sense that maybe Alito's just washing his hands of the whole thing, and maybe, just maybe, he, and you also want to keep your eye on Thomas, is planning to retire early in Trump's term to give him a chance to replace him, because that was, for someone who's been criticized justifiably for financial reasons, that was the kind of direct communication that no judge would dare to do. It's back sort of the Abe Fortas, Lyndon Johnson days, for which Fortas got so pilloried. And it was an outrage. And then, of course, Alito votes with him. So glass half empty, glass half full. A big ruling by the court, but geez, it was closer than it should have been. It was skin of our teeth.
So a few points there that I think are important. So for everybody listening, Justice Kagan was appointed by former President Barack Obama. One of the things that Harry's saying is, and based on personal experience, at least knowing the type of person Justice Kagan is, that she not only is a great jurist, but she also has a very good skill at getting people to join her. There's I don't want to say
sense of a political era closing since almost all the charter provision and counterparts in his presidency, which leads just one term from 1977 to 1981, are already long gone. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a frequent Trump target who just announced his resignation, offered one link to the past. He is the son of former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, who was Prime Minister for much of the presidency. Clinton sat next to former President George W. Bush on a rare visit to Washington for Republication. Bush offered another parallel: the passage of time, now 78, he lacks the frailty, towel snapping energy for his 200 campaigns. You can take the boy out of the frat, fiddly, towel snapping energy.